Welcome to Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in Orange County. Today we are joined by a supervisor from Orange County. His name is Todd Spitzer. And I take us back to 2011. This region was devastated by a senseless murder. 8 people killed at a hair salon. What's remarkable is 6 years later, that case is still marching through the judicial system because of alleged impropriety by the Orange County District Attorney's Office. Talk to us about that and then broaden and tell us what's going on.
Sure. I mean, 8 people's lives were taken. One, DeCry's former ex-wife, was murdered, and there was a lot of other obvious casualties.
Right.
The last mass murder was over 40 years ago in Orange County. 7 were killed at Cal State Fullerton. That was Edward Charles Alloway. So, you know, this was devastating and very substantial. And so as a result of that case, it was uncovered that informants were unlawfully used to elicit confessions after 2 things happened: after they were charged with crimes and after counsel was appointed. Those are constitutional violations. When you said alleged, actually the 4th District Court of Appeal has now found, as a matter of law, so the Superior Court judge kicked the district attorney off that case and said, you cannot prosecute the death penalty portion. Mr. DeCry had already pled guilty and then that went up on appeal, and the 4th District Court of Appeal found as a matter of law that it was unlawful conduct by both the Sheriff's Department and the district attorney. 275
attorneys have been removed from this case. Every single,
the
entire office.
Right, and typically, because I was a prosecutor and I was a police officer, I come from a very strong law enforcement background. I was a prosecutor in the Orange County DA's office myself. Normally, if there's an allegation of misconduct, they'll just wall off a small portion of
I used to be a lawyer. Chinese wall, they would talk.
Right,
they would call
Chinese
it.
wall.
Right.
But they believe, Judge Goethals found as a matter of law, the 4th District Court of Appeal affirmed, that the corruption was so widespread and the malfeasance was so pervasive that the entire district attorney's office was kicked off the case.
What is being alleged, maybe agreed upon as fact, is that what law enforcement is doing is they're placing informants next to high important cases. When we know someone's going to be in a jail cell and we really see that case as an important one, we're going to put them there and we're going to try to get them to sing.
To confess.
To confess. Right. And what the courts have said is when that happens, that individual, even though he may be incarcerated, is acting as an agent of law enforcement. And you said it, that is unconstitutional.
Yeah, it's unconstitutional. And, you know, quite frankly, look, I've been an elected official in this county a long time, and I picked hundreds of juries in this county and dealt with thousands of cases. And while we can sit back and forth and talk about the niceties of legality or illegality, the public is saying, well, you know what, this is some scumbag, he murdered people, who cares about his rights? And so I don't think there's a lot of sympathy about what's happened here, right? But the fact of the matter is, let's start with the premise that the criminal justice system is supposed to be blind. Maybe naively, that's a thought. But the point is, you're supposed to seek justice and you're supposed to do the right thing. What's happened here that's really egregious and what the public needs to understand is, as a result of getting kicked off DeCry, at least 6 other murder cases were compromised. And those murderers in those other cases, because of the illegal use of informants, have either been released or their sentence is shortened. So the jeopardization of public safety is incredible. And we now have people who will probably kill again, who have been let out on the streets, not only because of DeCry, but because of the ramifications of the domino effect of what was uncovered during the DeCry case.
And on top of that, we have both state and federal offices investigating the DA's office, I believe the Sheriff's Department as well. And that just, there's a cloud that really permeates over the entire office. I mean, when you have something like that, when you have an investigation come in, it's hard to even do your job because you know that anything could trip up.
You know, when I started picking juries in 1990, when I started in the district attorney's office, this county is so conservative and so pro-law enforcement that once the charges were announced, I'd have jurors say, well, if he's sitting there, he must be guilty.
Right.
When I came back to the district attorney's office after I left the legislature and I started picking juries again, the scrutiny and the disregard for law enforcement had grown exponentially in this county. And I scratched my head and said, why is that? So what happens is when people read about malfeasance and abuse of power in these kinds of cases, they come in on your garden variety DUI or petty theft or sexual assault or child molestation or some other case, and they no longer believe the prosecutor, and they no longer believe the police officers. There's devastating impacts when you have these kinds of questions of the system.
Recently, the sitting district attorney, Tony Rackauckas, appeared on 60 Minutes. And the journalist was pretty strong in questioning Mr. Rackauckas about whether there was malfeasance, as you described, in connection with jail informants. Mr. Rackauckas said there was no jail informant program. It's clear the journalist was skeptical at best about Mr. Rackauckas' response. What do you make of that national interview?
Well, I think it was really silly for him to go on CBS. I think it was really derelict in his duty to deny there was an informant program. You have to understand, after this all came to light, and the U.S. Attorney is now investigating, and also the California Attorney General, Mr. Rackauckas appointed his own Blue Ribbon Commission, his own hand-picked people to look at this. Lori Levinson from Loyola Law School, Judge Smith, the retired judge, some other people. And they concluded that this informant program was not operating lawfully, and that they recommended 10 different reforms. And so they found there was an informant program. The Court of Appeal has found there's an informant program, and Judge Goethals actually has engaged in further deliberations in judicial proceedings to get to the bottom of that. And let me finish with this. 3 deputy sheriffs so far have invoked their privilege against self-incrimination under the Fifth Amendment because they don't want to admit the depth of the informant program in the Orange County Jail.
And that panel, appointed by Mr. Rackauckas, used some very strong language about the office. They said the office is run like a ship without a rudder. It lacks leadership. There's a win at all cost mentality. Those are fighting words that the journalist on 60 Minutes used in her interview with Mr. Rackauckas. And so it goes back to the question about the general impression of law enforcement. It is so critically important that we have faith in our law enforcement institutions. And when you have statements like this from independent commissions, it causes concern.
Well, I would argue it's not independent. It was dependent. He appointed it. So that's why, in my opinion, it's even stronger.
But you are so concerned, sir, about the situation that you have drafted a letter to the U.S. Attorney General of the United States, Jeff Sessions. That's a remarkable move.
It is a remarkable move.
And for you to have done that says that this is not, we're not playing jacks here. Something needs to be done. What did you ask of Mr. Sessions?
So currently the United States Attorney is investigating the District Attorney and the Sheriff over this whole scandal involving decry and the use of informants. We covered that. But subsequent to this investigation, the District Attorney's chief investigator, Craig Hunter, former assistant chief of police of the city of Anaheim, and then became the chief under the District Attorney's investigation unit, he has now alleged that the District Attorney is involved in corruption and cover-up. So that was coming from his chief investigator. That, to me, were very, very serious allegations. Then 2 more DA investigators have now filed claims against the county as whistleblowers, also alleging cover-up of other cases having nothing to do with the snitch scandal. So as a result of these allegations by his own police force, I said enough is enough. We need an outside agency, this is the United States Attorney, to expand the investigation and then come in and take over the DA's office while this investigation is occurring.
That's a powerful recommendation. When you come back, I'd love to hear what happens with regard to your request to Mr. Sessions, the Attorney General. His name is Todd Spitzer. He is a supervisor in Orange County, where we are today. My name is Brad Pomerance. We thank you so much for joining us on Local Edition.